Good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining us. I'm Beth Jones.
And I'm Peter Dubois. A Stockton Springs woman convicted of murdering her daughter appeared in Waldo County Superior Court today to challenge that conviction.
Our Matthew Jarancic has the details.
Sharon Carrillo stood in court as part of an evidentiary hearing after being sentenced to 48 years in prison. Carrillo was found guilty after depraved indifference murder for her part in the death of her 10-year-old daughter, Marissa Kennedy. The state medical examiner's office found that Kennedy suffered from battered child syndrome after suffering 40 blunt force trauma injuries to her 76-pound body. Her former husband, Julio Carrillo, was sentenced to 55 years after pleading guilty to the same charge. They were tried separately. In court Thursday, Carrillo and her attorneys Chris McLean and Lauren Shaw testified in front of Justice Robert Murray. They presented photographs of alleged bruises and a bite mark on Sharon Carrillo. According to testimony, the photos were taken by Carrillo's attorneys after she was sent to Two Bridges Regional Jail. McLean testified that the injuries were brought to the attention of the legal team after Carrillo was arrested. They said they could have been caused by her former husband. He also claimed that Sharon Carrillo could not have been at fault for her actions at the time due to the alleged abuse. Paul Corey, Carrillo's lead defense attorney, and Leanne Zania, main assistant attorney general leading the case, declined to comment on the matter. In Belfast, Matthew Jarancic, ABC 7 and Fox 22 News.
Horn Carey was arrested Wednesday after police say they found drugs, money, and a firearm in her vehicle during a traffic stop. Bangor Police Sergeant Jason McCambly says officers stopped the vehicle in a parking lot on 4th Street and a police dog indicated the presence of illegal drugs. He says the subsequent search turned up 6 packages of suspected heroin and fentanyl, along with cash and a loaded gun. Horn Carey is charged with aggravated trafficking, violating conditions of release, and possession of a firearm by a prohibited person.
More legal representation for those who can't afford it will soon be available in 3 Maine counties. LD 653 was signed into law today, which renames the Maine Commission on Indigent Legal Services as the Maine Commission on Public Defense Services. It also creates 22 new positions, including 10 new public defender positions in Aroostook, Penobscot, and Piscataquis counties. Governor Mills said in a statement, quote, "The right to counsel is one that I deeply value and have personally delivered myself, having represented low-income clients many times during my own legal career. I thank the legislature for passing this bill, which is consistent with my budget proposal in such a timely manner," end quote. This was an emergency bill that once signed took effect immediately.
Well, anyone traveling on the interstate in Bangor today likely experienced delays, and that's because, according to Maine State Police, 34-year-old Edward Ross of Lawrence, Georgia, was driving his tractor-trailer on I-95 southbound when he lost control, causing it to roll over. Ross was not injured, but the crash shut down exits 185, 186, and 187. The right southbound lane was closed while crews offloaded the truck, got it upright, and then removed it from the scene. Police say the truck was carrying French fries. A Maine State Police spokesperson says driving too fast for road conditions appears to be a contributing factor in the crash.
A top official with the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives held a private meeting with Democratic lawmakers on Wednesday, which Republicans say goes against Maine's public meeting law. Our Augusta reporter Corey Bouchard has more.
Representative Jennifer Poirier is a top House Republican on the Judiciary Committee. She says Republicans are concerned that Maine's public meeting law wasn't followed.
Prior to, there was a scheduled information session on the agenda for the public to also attend with an ATF representative to talk about current enacted gun laws and such. Nothing to do with the bills that we're having today could be discussed, but it was an information session, and then the night before it was taken off the agenda.
Wednesday's information session was scheduled to be with James Vaughn, a deputy assistant director with the ATF. According to Senator Eric Brakey, who sits on the committee, Vaughn wasn't comfortable being in a public meeting.
We had an invitation to do a personal meeting with him after, I guess, the individual was not comfortable being recorded and doing a public meeting, which was weird. Our caucus, the Republican caucus, wasn't comfortable with that, doing that behind closed doors, so we opted not to. I think the Democrat caucus went forward and did that.
Maine's public meeting law prohibits 3 or more committee members from meeting privately. Poirier says that law serves the interest of the Maine public. State lawmakers have skirted the rule by holding partisan caucuses, which the Attorney General says is not a violation, but the practice has never been legally challenged. We reached out to the Democratic chairs of the Judiciary Committee, and while they were not available for an interview, party communications officers provided the following response, quote, "The original plan is for the briefing to be in a public forum. However, at the last minute, the ATF changed their position on the meeting being public. This resulted in Democrats on the judiciary holding a private caucus with the ATF representatives, as allowed based on Maine's open meetings laws. For example, Republican lawmakers on the Judiciary Committee previously met with the chair of the Lewiston Commission in a private party caucus on the subpoena bill. That being said, the Senate President's office has reached out to the federal government to ask the ATF representative be given clearance to offer the same information session to members of the public." At the State House, I'm Corey Bouchard for ABC7 and Fox 22 News.
Representatives from 24 hospitals across the state are urging legislators to increase Maine care reimbursement rates for long-term care facilities. Since 2014, there have been approximately 50 nursing home and residential care facility closures or conversions to lower levels of care in Maine, including 3 in just the last 3 months. Speakers shared how the closures of long-term care facilities are impacting hospitals across the state.
We have reached a crisis point. On any given day at Maine Medical Center now, there may be 60 or 70 patients that are stuck, medically ready for discharge, but unable to leave the hospital due to a lack of access to appropriate long-term care. These patients are stuck in one of the most restrictive environments possible, a hospital bed, and unable to get access to the services that they need to maintain their quality of life.
Hospital leaders say if reimbursement rates aren't increased, more long-term care facilities will continue to close.
Pollen season is fast approaching, and according to the Maine CDC, changes in climate are causing the season to begin earlier and last longer. Experts say that could have major impacts on those with respiratory conditions. Our Grace Blanchard spoke with a local healthcare expert to learn more.
The dreaded sneezing and runny noses that often come from exposure to pollen are just around the corner.
Watery eyes, itchy eyes, that type of allergy symptom, easy to manage, but it can get definitely more serious if it starts involving breathing or not being able to breathe as well.
According to the Maine CDC, changes in climate such as warmer temps, increasing precipitation, and CO2 levels are affecting the length and intensity of allergy season each year. Health professionals say the trend is posing major health risks for some.
Pollen and air pollutants do tend to cause more problems in individuals who experience allergies or have certain respiratory conditions like asthma and COPD.
Sibley says children with respiratory conditions are at a greater risk of symptoms being intensified.
Yeah, kiddos tend to play outside more maybe than adults and spend more outside time. They also breathe a little bit faster, and that's normal for them to breathe faster. But if you think about it, that's more opportunity to inhale these both air pollutants and the pollen that are triggering maybe some of this response.
He also says climate health is a growing field as health professionals search for solutions.
Had a few, atypical seasons of shorter, more mild winters. So we're paying attention to air quality for sure.
There are ways to help manage symptoms and take preventative steps against pollen effects. To learn more, visit foxbangor.com. In Bangor, Grace Blanchard for ABC7 and Fox 22 News.
I feel like you and I have both been feeling that for at least a week or two now.
Absolutely. And all these fluctuations in not just temperature, but humidity. It seemed like we had an early spring and then we get this new wave of snow.
We get shellacked with a little bit more cold and snow.
Yeah, all of that, can't help people with allergies.
Yeah, no, so, definitely not.
Yeah, I think getting on that allergy medication early is probably a good idea.
Which I have done, and it has been helping.
Yep.
I will say. But it doesn't completely get it done.
It certainly doesn't. All
right, well, let's go ahead and peek outside. We'll get a first check of our forecast and see what that overnight's looking like.
Thank you so much. And finally, the snow is long gone, but not for long. We're going to be in the break for like a day and a half. By Saturday, a massive low pressure system will be in the area. We're talking feet of snow in some spots. For now, though, visibilities are pretty good right by the coast, Bar Harbor, Rockland, Machias, all at 10 miles. Here in town, we're at 10 miles. Millinocket area, a little bit less of a good visibility. We're looking at 7 miles. Not too bad, though, but still a little bit more on the limited end. Temperature-wise, though, we were in those mid-30s earlier today here in town, right at the coast, even some upper 30s in some spots. Greenville, a little bit cooler, only in those lower 30s. Overnight tonight, though, we're going to continue to clear up with cool temperatures back in the teens.
Alrighty, Conrad, thank you.
All right.
All right, and still to come on Fox 22 News at 10, the Justice Department has filed a sweeping lawsuit against tech giant Apple. We'll have reaction from Maine's Attorney General.
And new protections could be coming for Maine's historic lighthouses in an effort to shield them from future storm damage. Those stories and more when we come right back.
March into savings at Quirk Chevrolet in Bangor. Take advantage of low APR financing and discounts over $7,000 on Silverado 1500 RST. Or save some green on the Sharp Equinox LS, 5 for $26,995. In the market for a pre-owned vehicle? Quirk Motor City has the next certified car, truck, or SUV you're looking for. With over 400 quality used vehicles to choose from. It's your Chevy. Find it at Quirk in Bangor, Portland, and Rockland. Here's to the next 50 years.
Come bowl a few games here at Bangor Brewer Bowling Lanes. We're one of the only candlepin bowling alley centers in Maine, conveniently located in the heart of Brewer. You always have the opportunity to simply bowl for fun. However, you can also join a league. We have youth leagues, adult and senior leagues. Now don't forget, we also host birthday parties for under $100, and gift certificates are also available. Give us a call right away at 989-3798 to make reservations for your birthday party today.
We're lucky to live in Maine. We have a wealth of natural resources, hardworking people, and time for the things that matter. Mechanical Services is all about Maine, with energy efficiency that protects our environment and helps businesses grow. Preventive maintenance and energy solutions that save money. How Maine is that? Mechanical Services. We're everywhere you are in Maine.
Welcome to 207 Wellness, where transformation begins from within. Embark on a journey of self-betterment with our comprehensive services from weight management to IV hydration, vitamin supplementation, and neurotoxin injections. 207 Wellness is here to support your wellness goals. Take the first step toward a healthier, happier you, rejuvenate your body, refresh your mind, and reclaim your vitality with 207 Wellness. Transform your wellness, transform your life. Give us a call today.
The baddest superstars on the planet are unleashed in prime time. From the heavens! All new Friday Night SmackDown at 8/7 Central on Fox.
Hello, I'm Emma Smith, and coming up on Good Morning Maine, all the latest from Augusta regarding recent legislation to protect access for folks traveling into Maine for abortion and transgender health care. Plus, the latest from court, where a hearing takes place regarding a woman who was sentenced to 48 years for beating her daughter to death. These stories and more coming up on Good Morning Maine.
The Justice Department on Thursday announced a sweeping antitrust lawsuit against Apple, accusing the tech giant of engineering an illegal monopoly. Fox's Grady Trimble has more from Washington.
Apple knowingly and deliberately degrades quality, privacy, and security.
Attorney General Merrick Garland laying into Apple as he announces an antitrust lawsuit triggered by the company's control over America's smartphone market. The Justice Department and more than a dozen states are suing Apple, claiming it's guilty of anti-competitive practices that have resulted in an illegal monopoly. More than 65% of all smartphones in the U.S. are iPhones, and Garland says the company uses that power to intentionally stifle the competition.
We allege that Apple has consolidated its monopoly power, not by making its own products better, but by making other products worse.
The two main allegations center on Apple's control over third-party developers and how the company restricts its products from working with others in the market. It also takes issue with fees Apple charges those developers, which often reach as high as 30%. Apple strongly denying those allegations, saying it'll fight the DOJ with all its resources, and writing in part, "This lawsuit threatens who we are and the principles that set Apple products apart in fiercely competitive markets." But Garland is vowing to push ahead, claiming Apple's business practices are hurting the American public.
Consumers should not have to pay higher prices because companies break the law.
And Apple's legal troubles could be extending beyond our shores. Antitrust regulators in Europe are expected to open an investigation into how the company does business there. In Washington, Grady Trimble, Fox Business.
Maine Attorney General Aaron Frey joined the Justice Department and 15 other states in a consumer protection enforcement suit against Apple. He said in a statement, quote, Attorney General Frey said in a statement, quote, "Apple knows that people rely on its products, and we believe it used that reliance to lock in consumers and limit their options. This type of behavior violates all the principles of the competitive marketplace and ultimately hurts consumers," end quote.
Well, after suffering millions of dollars in damages from the coastal storms this past winter, the World Monument Fund is considering designating Maine's lighthouses as threatened heritage sites. The World Monument Watch Fund program helps communities preserve their historic sites. This designation would provide additional resources and public awareness to help make the lighthouses more resilient. The nonprofit Maine Preservation, in conjunction with the American Lighthouse Foundation, submitted a proposal to the program as they say Maine's lighthouses are under a great threat of future damages.
When you have these storms and you have rising sea levels, all these ones that are offshore are facing higher seas that are out further off the mainland, higher wind velocities. So they're definitely taking the brunt of these big storms. So they are threatened.
All 66 lighthouses in the state have been nominated. According to Trapani, although they have become major tourist attractions, they're also still being used as navigational systems and are a big part of Maine's coastal identity. The World Monument Fund will formally announce its selections early next year.
I think any effort to protect Maine's lighthouses are definitely viewed in a good light here by most Mainers.
I think people take it for granted that because they've stood so long and because of how they're constructed and what they're made of, that they can withstand whatever Mother Nature throws at them. And as these storms get worse and worse and worse, you really have to worry about how exposed they are.
Yeah, they truly are pieces of history.
They are.
Well, coming up, we'll have some headlines from across the nation,
including the latest efforts to avoid a government shutdown. Stay with us.
Spring is the season of rejuvenation and the perfect time to revitalize your home with Renewal by Andersen. Our spring savings event is only once a year. Call Renewal by Andersen to schedule your free window diagnosis and take advantage of this incredible limited time offer. We've installed over 4 million windows, earning us 4.7 stars in customer satisfaction. Call the number below or visit us online today. And remember, call now because these great savings end soon.
The better way to a better window. Renewal by Andersen.
CEM DP Porter Contractors have been in business for more than 40 years. We have recently added an electrical division to further be of service to our loyal customers. CEM specializes in design build for commercial and residential projects. Whether you need help with older construction, new build-outs, or electrical services, CEM has you covered. CEM is currently hiring for all positions. We offer competitive pay as well as great benefits. To inquire about employment or construction, please reach out to 848-7486 or visit CEMMaine.com.
Come stop by Triple S Tack Shop, 315 Hamden Road, Carmel, for quality clothing and equestrian gear. The Legacy Sandwich, where you can find quality homemade sandwiches that are made to order. When it comes to food, we take it seriously. That's why we serve shredded chicken and turkey on our sandwiches, and our bacon is cooked fresh daily. To pair with your sandwich, we also have a selection of homemade soups, macaroni salad, and baked goods for dessert. The Legacy Sandwich, voted Bangor's best deli sandwich shop for the past 12 years running. It's not just a sandwich, it's a legacy. Give us a call today.
Did you see that? Hear that? Feel that? Is this how you prove you earn the crown?
Winning is in his DNA.
How you shut up the haters?
I love it.
Handle the heat?
Who's going to make the move?
It's going to be a must-win. Is this a shooting star? Rock star? Superstar? Okay. Let's all take a deep breath. Because once we peel out, there's no looking back. You ready?
There's one number you need to know. It's called Joe.
Congress is once again fighting the clock, trying to avoid a government shutdown. But a lot needs to happen before the Friday deadline. Fox's Connor Hansen has details.
The House hopes to vote Friday morning to avoid a partial government shutdown just one day after the text of its funding package was released, going against a rule requiring 72 hours for lawmakers to review the text.
This place is never going to change.
With over 1,000 pages, the bill would fund 70% of government programs through the summer, including money for the Pentagon and Department of Homeland Security.
Our Department of Defense, our military overseas, do we put them in a CR or do we pass this bill?
The bill removes funding for UNRWA, the UN's aid organization in Gaza. It also funds 22,000 Border Patrol agents as tensions rise in Texas. But some think it should go further.
The American people are sick of what we're seeing with open borders.
Once passed by the House, the spending bill has to be approved by the Senate, where members could try to add amendments. Republicans want to fold in the Laken-Riley Act, named after the Georgia nursing student allegedly beaten to death by a man in the country illegally.
This tragedy could have been avoided if President Biden didn't have an open border policy. The Laken-Riley Act would require officials to detain illegal immigrants who break the law through theft or burglary and have ICE deal with them.
I hope whatever the amendments are that are brought forward are ones that we can reasonably absorb.
Lawmakers could end up working through the weekend to pass the $1.2 trillion package. In New York, Connor Hansen, Fox News.
Meanwhile, lawmakers in Washington are not just facing a government shutdown deadline on Friday, they're also still working to pass additional military aid for Israel. And as Fox's Rebecca Castor reports, House Speaker Mike Johnson has invited Israel's prime minister to address Congress.
Israeli soldiers continue to raid the Gaza Strip, looking for Hamas terrorists. U.S. military aid for the nation's ally has been stalled in Congress for months, and as criticism for Israel's prime minister's handling of the conflict grows, House Speaker Mike Johnson has invited Benjamin Netanyahu to speak to lawmakers.
Well, I think it's a really critical time for that nation. They're fighting for their very existence. We need to stand strong with them.
The invitation comes after Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer blasted Netanyahu in a floor speech last week and called for Israel to hold new elections.
We should not be forced into a position of unequivocally supporting the actions of an Israeli government that include bigots who reject the idea of a Palestinian state.
Even so, Schumer says he welcomes Netanyahu to speak to Congress in a, quote, bipartisan way. Lawmakers are also working to approve more government funding before a Friday night deadline. $4 billion for Israel's defense is on the line.
You can invite whomever you like to come and address Congress, but do the work that needs to be done.
Speaker Mike Johnson is expected to coordinate with the Biden administration on scheduling Netanyahu's address. In Washington, Rebecca Castor, Fox News.
Republicans are pushing the Senate to pass legislation that would require federal immigration officials to arrest, detain, and deport migrants who commit certain crimes. It's part of the reaction to the murder of a Georgia nursing student, allegedly by a Venezuelan illegal immigrant. Fox's Rich Edson has more.
A man with an evil heart stole her life.
Laken Riley's father addressed the Georgia State Senate less than a month after his daughter's murder. Prosecutors have charged Jose Antonio Ibarra, a Venezuelan migrant.
He was in this country and in this state illegally. My vision for every senator in this chamber is that you protect citizens from this illegal invasion.
In the United States Senate, Republicans announced an effort to try to pass the Laken Riley Act, a bill that would mandate federal officials take into custody migrants who are in the United States illegally and accused of theft. Ibarra had been previously cited for shoplifting.
This tragedy could have been avoided if ICE had detained Jose Ibarra. But time after time, he was let go.
2 weeks ago, 37 Democrats joined Republicans to pass the bill in the House. It's stuck in the Senate. Senator Ted Budd says he's going to try to attach the Laken Riley Act this week to the massive government spending bill. Democrats are instead pushing Republicans to support the bipartisan Senate immigration proposal.
Rather than approaching this tragic event in a thoughtful manner, Republicans appear to have just thrown together language from existing unrelated bills that target and scapegoat immigrants to score cheap political points in an election year.
Budd was also asked about Laken's father's comments that he feels his daughter is being used politically.
This is not about politicizing his daughter's name. This is about remembering her, and this is about preventing tragedies like this from ever happening again.
Several Democrats just introduced legislation that would allow Immigration and Customs Enforcement to obtain a warrant for any non-citizen charged with committing a felony or violent crime. A handful of the bill's sponsors are running for re-election in swing states like Ohio, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin. In Washington, Rich Edson, Fox News.
Meanwhile, family and friends of Evan Gershkovich are reflecting on the Wall Street Journal reporter's 1 year in detainment in a Russian prison. It comes as Moscow launches its first attack on Ukraine's capital in weeks. Fox's Alex Hogan reports.
The family of Wall Street Journal reporter Evan Gershkovich marking 1 year since he was detained by Russian authorities.
I'm just in awe of him. I don't think any of us really know what it would be like to be in that position.
Gershkovich was arrested last March on spying charges while on a reporting trip outside of Moscow. He will remain in Russian custody until at least the end of the month as he awaits trial. Attorneys say another hearing in the case is likely to happen next week.
The investigators can either ask for an extension of that wrongful detention, or they may say that they're ready for trial, and then that process would kick in.
National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan says the U.S. remains in communication with Russia in hopes of securing the 32-year-old's release. On Wednesday, Sullivan traveled to Kyiv to renew the United States' support for Ukraine in its fight against Russia. Just hours later, Russian forces launched their first missile attack on Ukraine's capital in more than a month, but air defenses shot them all down. Ukrainian officials say more than 25,000 people were forced to shelter in Kyiv's metro stations, and about a dozen people were injured by falling debris.
The balcony doors opened, so I went to close them, and at that moment, the next explosion occurred, and the balcony doors fell on me and pinned me down.
With these airstrikes becoming more common, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky is asking the West for more air defense systems. In London, Alex Hogan, Fox News.
And still to come on Fox 22 News at 10, Tyson Foods announces plans to close its pork packing plant, which employs more than 1,000 people.
And in sports, we hear the latest from Maine men's hockey as they prepare for their first Hockey East semifinal game in 12 years. We'll be right back.
Saturdays. Baseball's best are showing out. The biggest games on the best day of the week. Fox Saturday Baseball returns March 30th.
So some people say when it comes to my Ford SUV, I'm a bit of a control freak. What's wrong with that? Who doesn't want better command of the road? Who can't handle saving a little more on gas? Why wouldn't I want to just turn a knob when the weather changes? Like it's ever the same. Ford SUVs put me where I want to be, in control. Who doesn't want that? Now get 0% APR for 60 months, plus $1,000 bonus cash on Ford Bronco Sport and Escape, only at your New England Ford dealers.
Spring is the the season of rejuvenation and the perfect time to revitalize your home with Renewal by Andersen. Our spring savings event is only once a year. Call Renewal by Andersen to schedule your free window diagnosis and take advantage of this incredible limited time offer. We've installed over 4 million windows, earning us 4.7 stars in customer satisfaction. Call the number below or visit us online today. And remember, call now because these great savings end soon.
The better way to a better window. Renewal by Andersen.
The best value for your money is always at the Furniture Gallery. Strike gold on value and comfort with recliners starting at $298 and power recliners starting at $398. Feel like a lucky charm with deals on this reclining sofa for $598 or on this sofa chaise, also $598. Find unbeatable savings at the Furniture Gallery on top brands like Serta, Restonic, Parker House, Ashley, Flexsteel, and more. Markdown madness is happening now, so hurry in and save big. The Furniture Gallery in Augusta, Bangor, Newport, and North Windham.
Comfort Shoes and More is your destination for all of your spring and summer footwear essentials. We have trained podorthists on site, and our friendly, caring, and knowledgeable staff will make sure you are fitted with the proper footwear that is perfect for you.
The OrthoFeed hands-free sneaker is engineered for comfort.
We have many new sandal styles from Hoka, Teva, Power Step, Stride, and more. Come visit Comfort Shoes and More in Newport to find the perfect shoes for you.
Hanks Husqvarna is your full-line Husqvarna dealer with 2 convenient locations, 32 Old State Road in Carmel and 19 Moosehead Trail in Newport. Whether it's tractors and zero-turns, chainsaws to trimmers, or pressure washers to battery power, everything is set up, serviced, and ready to go by our certified Husqvarna technician. And all sales are backed by our in-house Husqvarna warranty. For parts, service, or sales, stop in to Hanks Husqvarna, Carmel, or Newport.
The closing of a major food processing plant is hitting a small Midwestern town extremely hard. Not only are the factory jobs leaving, but much of the town will also be affected, and there's controversy over just who the company is hiring now. Fox's Mike Tobin reports.
The little town Perry, Iowa is worried about its survival. The largest employer in this town is a Tyson Foods pork processing plant. More than 1,200 employees got a letter that the plant is closing. The paychecks are gone in June.
It's scary. It's paycheck to paycheck. Now that's going away. It hits you.
The closure went public around the time a subcontractor for Tyson held a job fair in New York to hire new immigrants to the U.S. Accusing Tyson of firing citizens to hire immigrants, advocates on social media called for boycotts, and investors with the American Conservative Values electronically traded fund sold their shares in Tyson Foods.
We think American voters, American citizens are against that. And so on principle, we're going to boycott Tyson.
Tyson told Fox News the job fair hired only 87 people, and any insinuation that we would cut American jobs to hire immigrants is completely false. We closed our Perry plant for specific business reasons. Mayor Dirk Kavanaugh cares less about accusations and more about the future of his town.
It's more than just the 1,200 jobs that were physically working there. It's going to affect the whole town and the whole community.
The whole town, from the restaurants to the builders.
If you don't have a stable income coming in like that, then you can't come out and have fun anymore.
I do construction, so for sure it's going to affect my family.
I mean, it's going to kill this town. You know, all the people, they have a lot of people who live here that will have to go somewhere else to find work and maybe even find somewhere else to live.
Several different aid organizations and advocacy groups are rallying around the cause of Perry, Iowa. First, to make sure the laid-off workers have food on the table. Second, to try to get them placed in good jobs. In Perry, Iowa, Mike Tobin, Fox News.
A breakthrough in organ donation after doctors in Boston performed the first successful genetically modified pig kidney transplant into a human. Surgeons at Massachusetts General Hospital carried out a kidney transplant for a 62-year-old man with end-stage kidney disease. The 4-hour surgery marked the world's first such operation, and the hospital says the patient is doing well and is expected to be discharged soon. The patient with the new pig kidney previously received a human kidney transplant from a deceased donor in 2018, but that kidney failed 5 years later.
New devices are aplenty in the digital age, but a new United Nations report reveals so is the electronic waste, citing how recycling efforts aren't keeping up with the pace. Older technology is being discarded. Fox's Gary Baumgarten takes a look at the negative impacts and how the issue extends far beyond the scope of our planet.
Technology advances fast, with new versions of cell phones, laptops, and more rapidly pumping out. And while having the latest devices can be cool and even useful, a new United Nations report reveals all the old gadgets are creating mountains of electronic waste around the planet.
So to date, only 22.3% of e-waste has been documented to be collected and recycled in a good way.
The term e-waste refers to trashed items with a plug or battery. According to the UN, the world will produce a whopping 82 million tons of it by 2030. Officials say some of the waste contains toxic materials and can pose health risks, especially to those in developing countries who scavenge through the waste to try and sell spare parts. But the problem stems beyond our planet, with thousands of pieces of space junk, including old satellites and rocket debris orbiting Earth.
Other satellites in orbit have to do things like collision avoidance to move out the way of those debris objects, which causes problems for the services they're providing every day for us on Earth.
To tackle the problem, officials at Astroscale are experimenting with the company's robot claw. It's designed to grab debris floating by and push it closer to Earth, where officials say it will burn up in the atmosphere.
We're looking at getting into orbit with this spacecraft towards the end of 2026 and into 2027.
Gary Baumgarten, Fox News.
Well, that just put a whole new spin on it.
Yeah, really. Just
crazy.
Incredible to think about how much junk is out there.
Yeah, I mean, I can't even comprehend. Yeah.
Right.
But I definitely get the recycling of electronics is a big problem.
Yeah.
You know, we're recycling our devices more frequently than ever, and you don't think enough about where those old devices go.
Seriously. Well,
all right.
Hopefully no space junk falling into our orbit soon, but it sounds like we could see some more precipitation.
Snow. We could. Yep. Our full 5 days coming up. Stay with us.
And we got a little taste of snow from Mother Nature, but get ready, a lot more is on the way. We're talking a lot more snow is going to be piling up. How much snow? I'll have the answers and the timing coming up.
Roto-Rooter has served the greater Bangor area and beyond for 35 years, offering plumbing, hydrojetting, snaking, descaling, video inspection, and grease interceptor cleaning services. For all your residential and commercial clogs, call Roto-Rooter today, 990-1234.
And away go troubles down the drain. Roto-Rooter.
Transform your surroundings with Paramount Paving, located in Bangor. They are your paving and seal coating experts. Whether it's residential maintenance to full commercial projects, Paramount Paving delivers quality that lasts. Book before June 1st and enjoy a $250 Visa gift card upon completion of your next paving project. Call us today at 602-8931 or visit us at ParamountPavingLLC.com. Paramount Paving, setting the standard for excellence. When it comes to paving, we are Paramount.
Finding the right vehicle for you and your family can be a daunting task. At Varney Buick GMC, our expert staff is here to make the journey as painless as possible. Our goal is to get you and your family in a vehicle that will best fit into your lifestyle. Communication is key, and our team makes sure to be completely transparent throughout the process, informing you on all of your options. Come experience Varney value, only at Varney Buick GMC.
Your favorite restaurants were half off. It's half off dining from Fox 22 and ABC 7. Go to foxbangor.com, click on half off dining, and start saving now.
The Maniac Snack Shack. You will find delicious, tasty, insane desserts. Oh, and wait, there is more. We offer breakfast, lunch, and dinner options for take home. You want something special? Let us know and we'll create that perfect treat for any occasion. The Maniac Snack Shack. Place your order today.
Great restaurants from all over Eastern Maine at half off dining from Fox 22 and ABC 7.
Hello, Crapopolis!
From creator Dan Harmon comes TV's #1 new comedy.
How did I live without this?
Crapopolis, all new, Sundays on Fox.
And welcome back, folks. Look at this. The snow, say goodbye to that for now, but not for long. We're looking at more snow by Saturday. For now, though, this low pressure system, the counterclockwise rotation, finally moving out of our area. We did see a few inches of snow. It melted, a little bit of it melted away with temperatures above freezing, but more is on the way. A lot more is on the way. Where some spots closer to Greenville, yeah, get ready. You're going to see well over a foot of snow on the way. For now, though, just a good amount of clouds and some flurries, some light snow showers, mainly some flurries sticking around. Everything is very light for now. We're going to be in the break, though, later overnight. By tomorrow, we're in the clear, right? Not much going on. By Saturday, though, big low pressure system moves into our area with a lot of moisture, cold temperatures, mainly in the state. Here in town, we're going to fight that battle of rain and snow once again, but we're going to be piling up all of this snow. If you are in Dover, Foxcroft, or north of that, you are in luck. If you're a snow lover, you're going to get hammered with over a foot of snow. That is a good possibility. The snow will be continuing Saturday, even into Sunday morning. All these colors, you see these pink and orange colors just north of town. Well, especially in those orange colors, you're looking at over a foot of snow. And this is going to be light snow blowing around, so get ready for that. More of the wet, kind of thick snow, that's going to be right about here. So here in town, closer to the coast, and then just north of town, we're looking at that wet snow. But we're going to see a sharp cutoff. Wherever temperature is going to be much colder, all snow. So we're talking right about here. And north of that, it's going to be all snow. We're just going to be piling up that snow. Here in town, though, of course, in Bangor, a little bit more of that rain and snow battle. Still several inches of snow will be possible. A couple days away, we'll keep an eye on things. The winds are more in the breezy end, around 14 miles an hour in town. More of a wind in Waterville, Augusta area. Look at Rockland. Check that out. 28 mile per hour sustained winds. Wind gusts, of course, are closer to 35 to even 40 miles an hour. Tomorrow, once again, we're going to see pretty breezy conditions, not windy. I'd say more breezy conditions throughout the day on Friday, and then much better by Saturday. Overall, though, our average temperature, we should be at 42. We're going to stay below that Thursday into Friday, even through the weekend. We're going to stay below average. Finally, a bit closer to average middle of next week. But overall, though, we're going to continue to see some 30s back in our forecast. Different story for most of the country. They're seeing warm temperatures finally, but then that push of colder air making its way down south. Chicago back in the 30s now. All the way up north into North Canada. That's where we're looking at that cold air sticking around. And then cold temperatures kind of in Alaska, but not really. They're warming up as well. Our extended forecast outlook does show the rain and snow in the area on Saturday, lingering snow showers by Sunday.
All right, so not looking too bad past this weekend, at least.
Yeah, past the weekend anyway.
Yeah.
All righty. Well, sports is coming up next. Keep it right here.
Protect your vehicle from rusting away with Bell's Automotive Protection. We are the leader in mobile undercoating and rust proofing in Maine. We'll travel right to your driveway using the best and safest products on the market. This is much safer than rubberized coatings that can cause damage later on. We spray all types of vehicles, including commercial fleets. We all know vehicles aren't cheap anymore. Don't let the harsh winter chemicals eat them away. Call us or visit our page for a free quote. 207-659-3805.
Behind every keepsake, there's a memory. Behind every photo, there's a story. Behind Bouchard Cleaning and Restoration, there's people giving back by bringing back what was thought to be lost. The details, the time, and the expertise, all packaged up behind a name that Mainers have trusted for over 35 years. Statewide commercial and residential services. Bouchard Cleaning and Restoration. You keep the memories. We'll handle the rest.
When Ye Olde General Store in Carmel wants to know the local forecast, they log on to foxbangor.com. Ye Olde General has everything you'd ever need, whether it be fresh cooked meal, kerosene, wood pellets, pizza and fried food, or a drink after work. Ye Olde General has you covered.
Imagine yourself in a new Toyota. So, which one do you want? This one. Wow.
Recent college grads could get a $500 rebate over and above most other offers. Toyota, let's go places.
Introducing Hood New England Creamery. Made with premium Hood milk and cream and overloaded with the good stuff. New England Creamery. From Hood for New England.
Try all 10 flavors.
A new era
Spring football kicks off. The USFL champs versus the XFL champs. UFL kickoff weekend begins Saturday, March 30th at 1 on Fox.
Tonight's Sports is brought to you by Engstrom's Auto Service in Guilford. We specialize in all foreign and domestic service and alignments.
Hey everybody, Ryan Sudol here. Thank you so much for joining us. Friday night is the big night, the biggest game for Maine men's hockey in over a decade. The 7th-ranked Black Bears facing number 2 Boston University in the Hockey East semifinals at TD Garden. Maine's first trip to the Garden since 2012. It comes as the Black Bears are on a 4-game win streak after losing 5 of 6, including a 5-0 win over UNH in the quarterfinals. Their secret, no big game plan changes, just tying up some loose ends, plus hitting the ice and just having some fun. This stretch is especially huge as they prep for one of the most skilled teams in the country.
And our details have gotten better. We haven't changed anything. We've just been cleaner with the things away from the puck, which, you know, allows us to have the puck more, and good things happen when you're not chasing the game the whole time.
Going out there, you know, going, trusting the process, having fun. That's kind of how you get back to your game. I think that's how we got it all going again. Getting to Boston with that confidence, that swagger is going to be good for us.
BU has talent in spades. They boast 14 draft picks and a potential future #1 pick in freshman Macklin Celebrini. But this has been the story all year for Maine. They know they often cannot outskill their opponents, but they win with their physicality, their formations, etc. But more than that for this weekend, not letting the moment get too big and just play Black Bear hockey.
The most important thing we can try to do is just go and play. Usually there's not 5 guys with 5 cameras here right now, and so all this stuff is new. This time of year, the mental piece of it is, you know, probably more important than anything else. Just being able to execute and function, even when the games might be perceived to be on a bigger stage, is really, really key.
Okay, let's go to the baseball field now. May not seem like it outside, but it is baseball season, Maine baseball season, turning the page on non-conference play as they head to Bryant this weekend to open up the America East part of their schedule. Maine takes on Bryant in Rhode Island for a 3-game series this weekend, starting with a Friday doubleheader. The Black Bears only have 2 wins so far this year, sitting at 2-14, but have played some tough competition as they always do in non-conference. With a few injuries in the pitching rotation, mainly to starters Colin Fitzgerald and Caleb Lees, everyone has had to step up, and they're just looking for more consistency out of the late-inning relievers.
Really what it comes down to is our pitching staff has to be able to carry us a little bit more, especially in the late innings. 7 to 9 has been a big issue for us, and if we can, you know, get over that hump of the last inning or two, you know, we're gonna have a lot more wins, and I think we'll be in much better shape going into conference play.
Maine opens their conference season with the Bulldogs, one of the top teams in America East, according to Durba, and to open up right away with a game against a team they could see in the postseason is a great opportunity.
Being able to come in and go and play a good team right away, I think is really important. This is one of the teams to beat. I mean, this will be one of the teams towards the end of the year, which we have them actually at home in the second to last weekend of May of the season. This Bryant team will be one of the top contenders to be in first or second place.
All right, now let's go to another Black Bear team with a huge game Friday. 15-seed Maine women's basketball is set to face #2 seed Ohio State in Columbus Friday at noon in the NCAA tournament. The Black Bears big underdogs against the Buckeyes as they try to become the first 15 seed to ever beat a 2 seed in the history of the women's tournament. Unlike many low seeds, though, Maine not only played a nationally ranked team this year in Indiana, but they took them to the limit. Coach Amy Vachon saying Thursday that games like that create a sense of knowing they can hang with the big dogs. And even if they don't come away with the win Friday, they gave it everything they had.
Ohio State's definitely a different team than Indiana, but playing a Big Ten team and playing them, being competitive and playing really well and having it be such a close game, I think it gives our team, you know, that experience to know that we can compete. It doesn't matter who we play. You know, they're going to give it everything they can. They're going to represent our university, our state, and their families extremely well. And whatever happens, happens, but it won't be from a lack of effort.
Best of luck to them. Let's stay on the hardwood. Maine's very own Cooper Flagg was named Naismith National Prep Player of the Year earlier this month. Now he has a chance at yet another national award. On Thursday, Flagg being named one of the 3 finalists for the Gatorade National Player of the Year, along with Ace Bailey from McCurcheon High in Georgia and VJ Edgecombe from Long Island Lutheran. In his final year with Montverde Academy, the former Nokomis Warrior averaged 16 points, 8 rebounds, 4 assists, 3 blocks, and 2 steals a game. The winner of the award is set to be announced in the next few days. And also Thursday, the Gatorade Boys Basketball Player of the Year for Maine announced, the award going to one of the driving forces behind a local squad's second straight gold ball. And as you can see, it's Orono, and that can only mean Pierce Walston receiving the honor after what some say was a snub from the Mr. Maine basketball finalist list. The star guard averaging 18 points, 6 assists, 6 rebounds, and 3 steals a game this season, plus, of course, winning the Class B state title and the tournament MVP. Walston is set to join the Air National Guard after high school and is still undecided on a college destination. Wherever he goes, I'm sure he will do a great job at that. Okay, that's all the time we have for sports. We'll be right back after the break.
It's Hyundai's Getaway Sales Event at Quirk in Bangor. Experience unmatched safety and style. Lease the 24 Kona SEL all-wheel drive SUV for only $299 per month and enjoy 3 years of 36,000 miles of complimentary maintenance. It's your Hyundai. Find it at Quirk.
With Flonase, allergies don't have to be scary. Spray Flonase Sensimus daily for non-drowsy, long-lasting relief in a scent-free, gentle mist. Flonase, all good. Also, try our allergy, headache, and nighttime pills.
My father worked at the mill for over 30 years. He was exposed to a great community and excelled at his job, but he was also exposed to asbestos. The air quality inside the mill was always his biggest complaint. He had no idea how deadly some of the products and materials were. When he was diagnosed with mesothelioma, we knew to call Joe Bornstein's office to get my dad the help he needs and the justice he deserves.
Call Joe today for a free case evaluation. There's never a fee unless you win.
Hi, I'm Angelina Mucci.
And I'm Andy Mucci of Family Fun Bowling Center.
When we want to know the weather, we go to foxbangor.com.
Celebrating our 50th anniversary year, Family Fun Bowling Center has 20 lanes of 10-pin bowling at its best.
Great Scott! This is Green Bear 420 in 2010. What kind of trip is this? I gotta get back to 2023. Wait, it's 2015. So much has changed. In 2023, we had a lot more glass, t-shirts, and novelties. It's gonna take a bolt of lightning to get me home. Finally, home at last. Now Green Bear 420, Green Bear Green Care is bigger and better than ever. To be continued.
I'm glad I got my colonoscopy when I did, right at age 50, because they found a large tumor. I had absolutely no symptoms beforehand.
If you're 50 or older, ask your provider about screening for colon cancer. Today, you have options for colon cancer screening.
I'm celebrating 6 years cancer-free and thankful for every minute of it.
Did you know that it's possible to prevent colorectal cancer with regular screening? Learn more at screenmaine.org.
It's Ram Truck Month at Quirk. Save $64.05 on the 23 Ram Bighorn and buy for $49,620. Or take advantage of the Jeep Celebration event. Lease the 24 Wrangler Sahara 4xE for $499 per month. First payment only, due at signing. It's your Ram or Jeep. Find it at Quirk.
Sign up for You Pick 'em Red Sox at foxbangor.com. Pick who you think is going to win and compete against other fans for prizes.
Welcome back. Home sales across Maine were up in February. According to Maine listings, home sales jumped more than 11% compared to February of last year. The median sales price reached $354,000. That's an increase of more than 7.5% over February of 2023. Somerset County saw the biggest increase in price at more than 23%.
The Maine Science Festival is in full swing, and it will be going steady until this Sunday. Organized by the Maine Discovery Museum and sponsored by local businesses, the innovative weekend showcases cutting-edge technology and research taking place all over the Pine Tree State. The festival features more than 70 programs, including explorations of the senses through augmented reality, a showcasing of a state-of-the-art mobile biolab, the fundamentals of cheese making, a presentation on AI literacy, and much more. Although all ages are welcome to enjoy, Director of Community Engagement for the Maine Discovery Museum, Kim Stewart, says most of the events are intended for those 13 and older.
Touch receptors all over our body, and that kind of grounds us into the real world. So if you feel something in VR, you're more likely to believe that you're in that environment.
How can we embed the computational algorithms with the food experiences by using the electric taste, smells, as well as color stimuli?
Well, all of the events at the festival are free. To find out more about scheduling and locations, you can visit mainsciencefestival.org.
One of those Maine Science Fest events took place tonight at Mason's Brewing Company called Science on Tap. It's an annual event with different themes every year. This time the theme was Science of the Senses. Folks gathered to hear two presenters. First was an exploration into the technological power of haptics and touch. The second presentation focused on taste and smell, including a demonstration simulating the taste of mint and lemonade.
Touch receptors all over our body, and that kind of grounds us into the real world. So if you feel something in VR, you're more likely to believe that you're in that environment.
How can we embed the computational algorithms with the food experiences by using the electric taste, smells, as well as color stimuli?
Inside a packed room at Mason's Brewing Company, the event's moderator said it's important to show off how cool the science taking place in Maine truly is.
Lucky it is to be able to showcase how much incredible science goes on in Maine. These are local scientists just making it happen and really making a difference.
For more information, visit our website, foxbangor.com.
Well, finally tonight, the Mega Millions jackpot has climbed to nearly $1 billion after 2 days drawing failed to bring out a big winner. Our David Ledford spoke with area residents who hope a Mainer will be lucky enough to claim the big prize.
See if we can't get a big winner up this way.
$977 million. That's where the Mega Millions jackpot sits ahead of Friday night's drawing. 3 months have passed without a jackpot winner. And local business owners say the longer we go without one, the more customers come in to test their luck.
A lot more people actually end up playing when it kind of gets this high, which is nice to see. You know, a lot more people get excited, and which is good to see around here. You know, put some hope in the community.
Jackpot winners have the option of taking an annual payment or one lump sum, which for Friday night's drawing would clock in at an estimated $461 million. We asked area residents what they would do with that kind of money.
I think we'd buy a plot of land, probably for us and our friends and our family. We'd donate to Herman High School.
Buy some things for family, make sure they're all set.
Take care of my family, my kids and grandkids.
I would probably pay off my student loans, student debt, so my parents wouldn't have to.
According to the Mega Millions website, the odds of winning the jackpot are 1 in 302.6 million. But even with those odds, some are still hopeful they'll pick the right 6 numbers when they buy their ticket.
We'll just kind of keep playing to hope that one day we'll get the number called.
Mega Millions holds drawings twice a week on Tuesdays and Fridays. For more information, visit megamillions.com. In Herman, David Ledford, ABC 7 and Fox 22 News.
Dare to dream.
Right?
Yeah.
And how cool would it be, though, if a Mainer was able to take home or that huge jackpot? It's just incredible the amount of money that has amassed, almost $1 billion at this point.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely, I would definitely be one of the people who remained anonymous. Like,
Yeah.
I definitely wouldn't be broadcasting or anything, but all of a sudden I'd have like 10 more German Shepherds.
Yeah, and a bunch of jewelry on all of a
Not
sudden.
even jewelry, just a lot more dogs and yeah.
Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah,
Yep.
all
Cool.
of a sudden,
Yep.
yeah.
That'd be awesome.
Who knows?
Cool.
Alrighty, well that is going to do it for us, folks, from everybody here at Fox 22 News. Take care and have a great night.
Good night, everyone.